Hey guys, welcome to another episode of ATG Talk with me, Coach Kyle. Today I'm here with Coach Neil. He's the head of our Bryanston branch, and we're going to chat about his coaching journey and obviously what's led him to become an ATG coach and obviously head of the Bryanston facility. So hope you guys enjoy the podcast. For the guys that don't know, Neil has been a member of ATG as well, pretty much from the start. What year did you start with us, Neil? Do you remember?
I was trying to think the other day. I think it was in around November of 2016.
Okay, so it was a
So
long
pretty
time.
pretty much right from the start. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think I was like maybe the fourth one of strikers referrals, and you'll know how many years. So yeah.
And before you started coaching, you were a teacher.
Yes.
So where did you teach? What did you do before you started coaching?
Yeah. So I was a primary school teacher at Large School Inika, and then I think I was there for about 8 years, and then moved over to the high school at Randburg, and that was another 2 years. So yeah, just around 10 years of teaching.
Awesome. And then you've had your level one for a while. What made you decide to do your level one initially?
Well, I think I was here for about 3 or 4 years, and then I thought, maybe I'd like to get into coaching a bit, and then sort of just like spur of the moment thing, decided to do my level one and hope that at some stage a coaching opportunity would come around. And then at some point started thinking maybe I should, look for jobs, coaching positions at other boxes, but I never really wanted to do that. I was always like, I want to coach, but I don't really want to leave ATG. So it just sort of became a thing. Like I've got my level one. If at some stage an opportunity comes along, then you never know, it might happen.
And I suppose that's it kind of leads on to the next thing, which was when we decided to take over Bryanston and we posted that ad that we were looking for coaches. So one of the things we wanted to change when we opened up Bryanston is actually have a head of facility there, without just trying to dilute our coaches and send one of our coaches to the new facility. So maybe if you can take us through what happened there and how the Bryanston thing came about from your side.
Yeah, so I never actually saw the ad, the ad for that you guys are looking for someone to run that facility. I think it was like, it probably helps if Choki is your brother-in-law, but I think it was like one weekend at like a family thing, and he was just talking about it, him and Bianca, and then I went home and I said to Zal, I was like, maybe, I should consider this and think about doing it. And Zal and I then started talking, and if it would be able to work for us. And then when I contacted Chalks about it, it was sort of like, it sort of came along without me even expecting it to, I didn't see the ad and I was like, this is what I want to do. It was just like a general conversation. And I was like, oh crap, that might actually be a nice thing to do. And so that's sort of how it happened. It wasn't really a planned thing.
Yeah, and I think from obviously from Chalks' side, he was a little bit hesitant about it, but only because of the family relationship, family dynamic. But I think from the previous people that we've had coaching and helping us out and things like that, we've always had people that have put in a lot of effort. But I don't think many people understand what it's like to open a box and how much work you put in those first couple of weeks to try and get that place going with the painting and moving stuff.
And anyone that saw the box before we, it didn't look like it looks now. It was a lot different. So that was like having to try and get that box going in one weekend.
Yes,
try and set up that whole thing in one weekend and breaking down walls and painting and cutting up the rig and trying to move it. Getting some sort of flooring going. And I'd say the first 2 weeks were just so hectic in that place, and then trying to fit classes in between all the work. And that first while was hectic, but I think it's settled down nicely now to where it's running so smoothly now.
And I think you guys have done really well there at Bryanston. We're growing nicely on that side, which is awesome. And then what has changed? What changed for you since from teaching to coaching?
So, it's still pretty much teaching, I guess. The students are a little bit older, and and it's not any academic work. But it's still working with people and trying to transfer some knowledge and learn some people some new skills, which is pretty cool. And it's working with people, which I love. So
Yes, yeah.
that was always going to, I think, come naturally. I've had to put in a lot of extra, do some research and stuff. And, if what I'm teaching is the correct way of teaching,
Yes,
or if
yeah.
I'm, teaching the correct thing. So that was a little bit of extra work. So, but overall, the teaching part of it's pretty much the same.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
the biggest change is my personal life.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot more time for my own training, and the schedule's not as hectic as it was, which
Yeah.
is really cool. I mean, I think that's the nicest thing about it, or one of the great things, is that I've now got a lot more free time, I'd say, and to spend with the family and do with my own training and all that type of stuff. But generally speaking, it's pretty much still teaching.
Yes, yeah. Well, I suppose, I mean, also as a teacher, you kind of had a lot of late nights where you would have like athletics and sport and things like that. And then on the weekends, a lot of traveling and sports events and things like that, which has calmed down a little bit.
Look, I think at first, when that facility first opened, and it was mornings till evenings, when I was by myself, the hours that I sort of had free didn't really mean anything.
Yes,
Because like I wasn't home early. I was leaving home at, let's say, 4:30, and then getting back at 20 to 8 or whatever
Yes,
it was.
yeah.
So I was away from home quite a bit then. But now with Gilmary helping there, I have a lot more time at home, which is really nice. I mean, that's made a huge difference. The Saturdays things, there was always sports on Saturdays when it was like half the day. Now it's maybe an hour or two in the morning. So yeah, in terms of that time at work, I'd say has calmed down a lot.
Better,
a lot better.
And what did you say, obviously barring the superficial changes, the things we changed in the gym, what did you say the differences have been since you've taken over Bryanston? I mean, you did spend a month and a bit with the previous owner, just getting to know the business and things like that. So from your side, is there anything maybe you've changed, or you wanting to, or you've put in things in place that you saw you could maybe do a little slightly differently?
So, well, I mean, the ATG way of running the box and how things worked at Randburg, and when you guys did the Norwood facility and at Bryanston, there's a certain way. I think that's completely different to what it was. So at first, the members, I think, were a bit, I wouldn't say hesitant, but they weren't sure what was going on.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of change for them as well. But they've taken to it really well. And I think that's the biggest difference I've seen, is the mindset of the members at the box, especially the ones that have been there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, is they've become a lot more, or let's say they're a lot more eager to learn new skills, learn new movements.
Yes.
Where I think they were very comfortable in the way they were doing things, or maybe it wasn't really expected of them to do anything differently. And now they like pushing weights when they do workouts and forcing themselves to work on difficult movements, where in the past maybe they wouldn't have done that, which is great. And I think one of the best things is the amount of members that now spend extra time at the box, working on new skills, working on movements, doing some extra lifting.
Yes.
I think that's one of the biggest things, is when I'm at the box and it's not classes, people doing extra stuff by themselves to try and improve.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest change definitely has been the members' mindset and their approach to their training. Has definitely changed a lot.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things on the few times that I have been there, is they remarked quite a bit on the coaching, which is a good thing, is the fact that they're getting a lot more coaching on the specific skills, which is quite important. I think if you want to get better at the sport, you kind of need to. And then obviously you have been thrust in there. You're quite a social guy, and you're obviously trying to build a community from, I wouldn't say from scratch, but they didn't necessarily have a community that you would see at one of the other ATG facilities. So, I know you've done 1 or 2 things to try and get that community going. So maybe you can share a little bit of that.
So I think the biggest thing now is that last Friday of the month, where we have that, let's call it our beer wad, where, after the class, we'll hang around and maybe just try and get people to hang around and spend some time together outside of actually training. Spend some time together, like in a social environment. One of the things I'm trying to do is to try and convince some of the members to start competing in competitions. And I think if you really want to get to know all the ATG members and their way of doing things, and like our way of doing things, and our social dynamic. And that if you ever get to a comp and you spend time with everyone there, I think that's a great way of seeing the way we do things and feeling like you're part of the community. You know, getting that support when you're competing, and people just hanging around, having a good time together. It's probably the best way to do it. And I think maybe next year in the Open, it'll be for a lot of the Bryanston members, it'll be their first Open that they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a huge one for them, you know, to come to do the Open and have a few hundred people supporting you. And, you know, like, I think I can't wait for that, actually. I think it's going to be amazing for them, you know, just to experience that community. But for now, pretty much, you know, just trying to get people to spend some time together outside of their training, you know, that hour that you've got in class.
And I know you were also doing this on certain Saturdays, taking the members just up the road there for a cup of coffee and getting the members going on a Saturday, which is, I mean, that seems to be also picking up nicely and things like that.
Yeah, so it's, I think we should probably do that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some of the members do stay and hang around, but yeah, that's something we should do a little bit more, I think, and try and make it like, you know, it's part of the Saturday class. Is to, if you're going to come on a Saturday, hang around afterwards, let's go up and have a cup of coffee and, you know, spend some time together.
Yeah, awesome. And then what did you say? So you've been around the CrossFit space and training in CrossFit and stuff, and obviously you have slightly different goals to what the average person doing CrossFit is. But what would you say is one of the most important things when it comes to longevity of training and sustained training in this style of training for so long?
So, I mean, anyone that's done CrossFit for more than 3 years can probably tell you that it's pretty hectic, and it does take its toll at some point, and to get yourself to go to the classes, you know, and be consistent with the training is a bit difficult. But what I found, or what's worked a lot for me, is to enter events and enter comps so that you have something to train for. So that's helped me a lot, is to just have something, okay, a comp's coming up in a month's time or 2 months' time. I've got to train hard now to keep myself motivated and keep going, so that I don't disappoint the rest of my teammates that are going to be there, you know, or don't let them down. That's the one thing. The other thing is, I think when you start CrossFit, I think at first you improve a lot very quickly, just because you haven't done this sort of training before, and now all of a sudden you're doing it in your body, like you just improve so quickly, and then it sort of stagnates at some stage, and learning how to be patient is I think a big thing. If you want to continue the style of training and you want to keep yourself going, you've got to be patient and realize that results take 8 months to a year to really come, and to stay consistent in your training and keep going. Be like, okay, I'm getting there. Every little bit is making a difference. Every day that I train is working towards being better or getting better. But realizing that it takes a lot of time, you know, to get any real results. So making that mind shift from I'm training and I want results and I want to see results, trying to make that mind shift and going, okay, this is probably going to take me 8 months, 6 months at least before I see any real results. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with spending the time and putting in the effort in the long run to try and see results at some stage.
Yeah. And I also think from the event side, you've also been slightly different to, you know, we always tend to enter CrossFit-based events. But I mean, you've done a few, like Sani to see things like that, where you've done some stuff outside of the gym.
So actually, I often say when people ask me, and I've realized that we actually get a lot of like runners and cyclists and stuff that that try CrossFit, and I always tell them that I've done a few Sani to see mountain bike races on very little mountain bike training. You know, basically CrossFit training, and then a month before the race, I'll spend some time on my bike, and that's really just to get used to sitting in that seat for 6 or 7 hours. You know, but most of that training is 90% of it's CrossFit training. You know, no real time on the bike. I remember the 21K all the members did. Remember we entered a 21K, and also no one ever trained for that 21. It was CrossFit training. It was CrossFit training. I was like, let's go and see if we can all run a 21. And everyone made it, and everyone ran really well as well. It wasn't like people were struggling and dying in the back there. Our members all did really well, the ones that entered. So yeah, I think a huge thing, or one of the great things about CrossFit, is that it really does translate to anything else, any other sporting event that you want to do. And I think that's something that we try and encourage, and it's been like that for a long time, is we try and encourage people to train with us and do CrossFit training, but use that training to do other events. You don't need to do CrossFit comps. It can be a run, it can be a triathlon, or just a mountain bike race or whatever. Even if it's just you're going to do a hike in the Drakensberg or something, anything you want to do, just use the CrossFit training as the base of that. And you'll probably be really successful. You'll probably surprise yourself at how well you do just off CrossFit training.
100%. And I also think in terms of the progression, when you start CrossFit to continued progression, I think that just comes down to goal setting, number one. So at a certain stage, you can't just be focused on just trying to destroy yourself in every workout. There's got to be focus of trying to get better at a specific goal, whether it's a weightlifting goal, whether it's gymnastics, whether it's building a better engine. And you've got to put a little bit of focus into that when you're doing the actual training. And then I also think it comes down to just having a little bit of ability to, a little bit more awareness. So looking at, not looking at it as a whole, but for example, if your engine, your goal is to build a bigger engine, you might be destroyed in a workout where we run and do thrusters and pull-ups, but having the foresight to look at it and say, okay, but maybe it was the pull-ups and the thrusters that broke me, but my running was much better. I was much more consistent in my run and got back in. So that's the sort of goal setting and being able to look at your performance that makes a difference long term.
I think, first of all, staying motivated is really difficult. To just be like, I'm going to be motivated to go every day and train.
With no goal.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's not going to happen, right? So having something that you're working towards, whether that's getting stronger, lifting more weights, or doing some gymnastics movements. I think when I decided whenever this stage, I can't remember exactly when it was, but I was like, okay, I'm going to start putting in a little bit more effort, train a little bit harder, and let's see what happens. I'm not going to be a professional athlete, but I'm going to try and be as good as I can be. It was pretty daunting looking at CrossFit and being like, okay, there are 700 different movements. I'm not going to get better at all of them in the next 2 months. Realistically, this is not going to happen. Even just trying to get stronger takes a long time. It takes a long time to get strong. I know a lot of people that want to maybe improve pull-ups or toes to bar or muscle-ups, whatever it is. It takes a long time to do this. And it's daunting when you look at it and be like, how am I going to improve on everything? But setting small goals and be like, okay, for the next, let's say 4 months or whatever, it's going to be strength. Yes. And if the cardio part of a workout, if that breaks down a little bit and you find, okay, maybe I'm not feeling as well as I should on the machines, let's say, or the run or the double unders, but there was a weightlifting component in that workout and I moved the bar really well. Yeah. So you've achieved something, you've got better at that. And then take one thing at a time. So if it's lifting, work on that. And then for the next few months, you might say, okay, it's going to be, like you said, building a bigger engine. Or it might be, for me, it was 20-minute workouts come really easily for me. Yeah. Carrying on for a really long time is easy. For me, it was trying to get better at 7-minute workouts. Yeah. Trying to do a Fran, which is I don't know, most people probably under 5 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever workout, is trying to do that because I still want to approach that like a 20-minute workout because I'm very comfortable in how I feel. And that at that pace, I feel really comfortable. But trying to say, okay, well, you've got to improve at really short workouts and get yourself to move. And it takes a long time. Yeah. I mean, it takes a long time to make that mind shift and condition yourself to be able to get better at the things that you want to get better at. Yeah. It's just, like I said earlier, just have patience with it, and stick to it and realize that fixing one thing at a time might mean that something that you were really good at might take a back seat for a while, but you'll get it again. It'll come back.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just those little micro goals and setting them as you go. I think that's it, guys. I think that's all we have time for today. So thanks, Neil. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget, guys, that obviously Rumble, the in-house comp's coming up. The Bryanston guys, all the things that you see that change there, Neil's responsible for moving rigs and putting flooring down and everything. So all the big changes, he's going to be working really hard up until Rumble. We'll be there to support him, but majority of the work will be Neil. So yeah, all right, guys. So we're looking forward to Rumble. It's coming up on the 17th of August. So if you haven't signed up, this is the time to sign up. And hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.